you ever wondered why some people, after just a few years, are miles ahead of you? Why, even starting from the same place, some are already financially free, while you're still stuck worrying about bills? Welcome to Rich Mind Hack, the place where we uncover the hidden secrets of building wealth. If you haven't followed yet, hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss the lessons that could literally change your life. You see, most people think wealth comes from luck. They believe one day opportunity will knock on their door and everything will magically change. But let me tell you the truth. Wealth isn't about luck. It's about adaptability and the habit of never stopping learning. Take a look around. The world changes every single day. How we make money, how we spend, how we invest. If you're still thinking the way you did 10 years ago, you're already falling behind. Don't you agree? The people you admire, the successful ones, they didn't stop at a college degree. They keep learning every single day. Bill Gates spends hours reading every week. Warren Buffett, even in his 90s, still goes through financial reports daily. They're not just rich because they're smart. They're rich because they never stop learning. I remember a friend of mine in the US. When he started his online business, he knew nothing. But instead of complaining, he learned step by step. Marketing, sales, money management. 3 years later, he wasn't just out of poverty. He built stable income for his entire family. Do you see it? The difference isn't in where you start. It's in how committed you are to learning every day. So here's the question I want you to pause and ask yourself. Are you truly committed to learning every single day to become wealthier? Or do you only learn when you're forced to and then complain that life is unfair? Poor people ask, how much will it cost to learn this? Rich people ask, what value will I gain from learning this? That mindset is what makes all the difference. If today you're still struggling, maybe it's not because you lack opportunities, but because you haven't been disciplined enough to learn consistently. Wealth doesn't come from winning the lottery. It comes from upgrading yourself day after day. Have you ever felt this before? You watch a motivational video, hear a success story, and your blood starts pumping. You nod. You tell yourself, tomorrow, I'll start. But then, just a few days later, all that determination fades. You whisper, this is too hard. Maybe I'm not meant for it. And just like that, you slip back into the old cycle. Same job, same paycheck, same routine life, until years pass and nothing changes. That's the trap I call the illusion of hard. You think hard means impossible. You think hard means you're not good enough. But the truth is, hard just means it's something you haven't practiced enough. Think back to when you first learned how to ride a bike. You fell over and over, but you kept getting up, and eventually you could ride. Learning life skills, money skills, it's the same. Hard doesn't mean impossible. Hard just means you need more time, more practice, more experience. Successful people aren't born geniuses. They're just a little more stubborn than you, a little more patient, willing to make mistakes and fix them again and again. And that little bit more creates a massive gap after just a few years. I've coached many students in the US, and the ones who broke through weren't the smartest. They were the most persistent. One of my students started live stream selling. The first time, he was shaky, stuttering, and viewers left immediately. If he had quit right there, I guarantee today he'd still be stuck at a $12 an hour job. But no, he treated it like practice. The next day, he went live again, and again, and again. 6 months later, he became one of the top online sellers in the group. So no, hard doesn't kill you. What kills you is the belief that hard is the end of the road. That belief makes you quit too early, right before the results start to show. So today, ask yourself, are you turning hard into an excuse to stay stuck? Or are you willing to treat it like practice, where failure, effort, and time are just part of the growth? Because in the end, hard isn't scary. What's truly scary is using hard as an excuse to settle for a life you don't even want. Have you ever looked at a successful person and thought, they were born talented, they were just luckier than me? If you've ever thought that, I want you to pause and look deeper. Because the truth is, no one is great from the start. Successful people are only different in one way. They're willing to be patient. They're willing to make mistakes. They're willing to start over again and again. Think about it. When Steve Jobs first introduced the idea of the iPhone, his team faced countless problems. Screens cracked, batteries failed, software crashed over and over. But if they had quit back then, we wouldn't be holding smartphones today. What you see as greatness now was really the result of hundreds, even thousands of cycles of trial, error, fix, and try again. I remember a student of mine in New York. He launched a tech startup, and his first product completely failed. He was in debt, mocked by friends. But instead of quitting, he analyzed every mistake, product flaws, customer approach, marketing. A year later, he launched again. The second product failed too, but he didn't stop. On his third try, the market finally responded. Today, that same company is operating in more than 15 states. Do you see it? Success isn't one big explosion. It's the result of patiently doing it over and over, despite the pain of rejection, the sting of failure, and the doubt from everyone around you. That's why I always ask my students, how many times have you actually failed in your journey to make money? If the answer is not many, that's the real problem. Because failing little means you haven't tried enough, risked enough, or gone far enough to truly touch success. So maybe this is the one thing you need to remember today. Successful people aren't the ones who get it right from the start. They're the ones who are willing to get it wrong more times than others, but refuse to give up. Here's a harsh truth that few people want to face. Being rich or poor isn't about how much money you make. It's about how you keep and manage the money you have. Think about lottery winners who suddenly get millions. At first, everyone assumes they'll live happily ever after. But a few years later, most of them are back to zero. Some even worse off, drowning in debt. Why? Because they never learned money management. They spend as if the money will never run out until it does. I remember consulting for a young real estate entrepreneur in California. He made millions in just 2 years, but he spent recklessly: luxury cars, parties, extravagant trips. When the market crashed, so did he. His wealth disappeared, debts piled up. He was great at making money, but terrible at keeping it. And in the end, he lost everything. On the other hand, I once met an immigrant woman in Texas. She worked in a small nail salon, making very modest income. But every month, she saved a little, invested carefully in safe stocks, and built discipline into her finances. 20 years later, she owned a house, had solid savings, and even helped her children start businesses. Do you see it? It's not about how much you earn. It's about how you manage what you have. So here's the question. Are you controlling your money, or is your money controlling you? Because money never stays long with people who only know how to spend. But it multiplies for those who know how to manage, invest, and discipline themselves. Remember this. Making money is just the first skill. Keeping money, managing it, and making it grow, that's the real art that turns someone from poor to truly wealthy. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I work so hard all month, but in the end, there's never any money left? Or why are there people who don't earn that much, yet they live free and comfortable, while I'm always under financial pressure? The answer is simple. To master your life, you first have to master your money. I once met a guy in New York earning 6 figures a year. Sounds impressive, right? But he was trapped in credit card debt, mortgage payments, car loans, and reckless spending. The truth? He wasn't in control of his life at all. He was living as a slave to money, working hard just to pay off debt. On the other hand, I met an immigrant couple in Houston. Their income was modest, nothing fancy. But they had discipline. They budgeted, separated needs from wants, invested, and saved consistently. After 10+ years, they owned a small house, had solid savings, and, most importantly, they had the freedom to choose the life they wanted. Do you see it? The difference isn't in how much they earned, it's in how they managed their money. Because here's the truth. If you don't control your money will control you. If you don't direct your money, it will keep you chasing it for life. So ask yourself, do you spend based on emotions or based on goals? Do you have a clear financial plan, or do you just spend until it's all gone? Are you truly in charge of your money, or is your money deciding the life you live? Freedom doesn't begin with making more. It begins with controlling what you already have. When you learn to manage every dollar, step by step, you start breaking free from financial pressure, and start taking control of your life. I want to tell you a true story about my friend, Thap. He's not a businessman. He's not some investment guru. He's just an ordinary office worker in California, earning just enough to get by each month. But there's one thing that sets him apart from so many others. He never spends recklessly. While his friends rush to upgrade to the latest phone, buy cars on installment, or check in at fancy restaurants right after payday, Thap chose a simple lifestyle. Every month, no matter how much he earned, he set aside a fixed amount of savings. He even built a personal emergency fund for sickness, job loss, or any unexpected crisis. And life, as you know, is never as smooth as we wish. There was a time his company downsized, and he was out of work for nearly 6 months. Most people would panic, borrow, or fall into debt. But not him. He stayed calm, because he had an emergency fund that could cover at least 8 months of living expenses. Thanks to that, he didn't fall into the endless cycle of earn and spend, earn and spend. Instead, he had the time to reflect, learn new skills, and prepare for a better opportunity. And when it came, he was ready. Thap's story taught me, and maybe it will teach you too, a powerful lesson. Wealth isn't just about how much you earn. It's about how you treat the money you have. Think about it. If you lost your income tomorrow, how long could you survive on your savings? 1 month? 3 months? Or just a week? At the end of the day, financial management isn't about cutting out joy from life. It's about being prepared for tomorrow. Wise people don't let money decide their freedom. They turn money into a tool to live with fewer worries and more choices. Have you ever tried to balance a table on just one leg? Of course not. It would collapse instantly. Financial freedom works the same way. You can't just rely on making money and hope to become wealthy. You need strong legs to hold it up. 5 foundational skills that I want to share with you today. First skill, choosing the right product. Whether you're running a business, starting a side hustle, or just launching something small, you must know if what you offer truly has value. Don't sell what you like. Sell what people need. This is the very first step, and yet, it's where most people fail. Second, pricing. Did you know a product's success often doesn't depend on quality alone, but on price? Pricing is not just a number. It's the art of balancing real value with customer perception. Price it wrong, and you may lose your customers, or worse, your chance to survive. Third, marketing and sales. Remember this. Even the best idea in the world is useless if it stays hidden in a drawer. Successful people don't just create value. They know how to share that value with others. Fourth, emotional management. It may not sound like money, but think about it. How many times have you made bad decisions out of fear or greed? How many times have you quit just because you felt discouraged? The one who controls their emotions never lets the market or life storms blow them around like a dry leaf in the wind. And finally, people management. You cannot get rich alone. No matter how smart you are, you're still just one person. But when you know how to inspire, lead, and collaborate, your power multiplies many times over. These 5 skills are the 5 legs of your financial table. Miss one and it wobbles. Master all 5, and you'll have a rock-solid foundation, not just for a day, but for a lifetime of financial freedom. Have you ever seen someone dressed in luxury, driving a nice car, checking in at fancy places, but the moment a small crisis hits, everything collapses? That's hidden poverty. On the outside, they look stable, a good job, decent income, a glamorous lifestyle. But inside, they live in constant insecurity, because all that stability is just a house built without a foundation. One storm, losing a job, falling ill, an unexpected crisis, and it all comes crashing down. I've witnessed this countless times in over 10 years of consulting. One client of mine always looked energetic and successful, but when we reviewed his finances, I discovered he was living on credit cards, owing more than he had in savings. When layoffs came, his entire world fell apart within weeks. You see, the most dangerous kind of poverty is not what you see in the present. It's the poverty hidden deep in your mindset and financial structure. It traps people in fear, dependence, and vulnerability. It kills dreams because without a safety net, they don't dare step out of their comfort zone. So how do you escape hidden poverty? not by chasing appearances, but by building a real foundation, an emergency fund, sustainable income skills, financial management, and smart investing. With a strong foundation, you don't fear setbacks because you know you can rise again. Ask yourself, if I lost my job tomorrow, how long could I survive without debt? If a crisis came, do I have the means to protect my family? If those questions make you uneasy, then maybe it's time to rebuild your foundation, starting today with the smallest steps. Have you noticed that one of the most common questions people ask when buying something is, how much does it cost? Yes, price matters. But if that's where you stop, you'll stay stuck in a mindset of expenses. And that is the mindset of the poor. The wealthy, the successful, they ask different questions. What value does it bring? How will this move me forward? I remember a few years ago, one of my students, David, was considering a communication skills course. The first thing he asked was, how much is it? Then immediately said, too expensive. He only saw the cost. But a few months later, his friend took that very same course, applied the skills, and got promoted, doubling his salary. David then realized what he lost wasn't the tuition fee, it was the opportunity to grow. You see, cost is temporary. Value lasts a lifetime. A great book, a new skill, a real-life experience. These can change how you think, how you earn, how you live. What feels expensive today might be the cheapest investment you'll ever make when you look at the long-term return. And it's not just about learning. In business too, one entrepreneur asks, how much will it cost to hire this person? Another asks, what value, what profit, what peace of mind will this person bring to my company? One mindset limits you. The other opens doors. So pause and ask yourself, am I living with a cost mindset or a value mindset? Is it really expensive if it changes my future? Wealth begins in the mind. The moment you start seeing value instead of just price, you unlock doors others never dare to open. And that's the first step toward financial freedom and the life you truly deserve. Have you ever heard promises like, get rich quick, short-term investment with huge returns, or just a few days to change your life? Sounds tempting, right? But the truth is there are no shortcuts that last. They're just illusions. The truly wealthy don't chase luck. They choose the long road, steady and certain. They understand a simple truth. Wealth doesn't come from one giant leap, but from small, consistent steps accumulated day by day. Imagine this. You spend $5 a day on something meaningless. $5 feels like nothing. But in 30 days, that's $150. In a year, over $1,800. And if you save, invest, and let it grow, that small amount can turn into tens of thousands over a decade. That's the power of steady accumulation. I remember a story of my friend John. He wasn't a genius, didn't have hundreds of thousands to start, but he had one principle. Every month, no matter what, he saved and invested 10% of his income. 5 years later, while his friends were still drowning in credit card debt, John had built a fund big enough to buy his first home. Not because he was smarter, but because he chose patience and discipline. Financial success is like building a strong body. You can't work out for 1 week and expect instant results. But with consistency, a year later, the transformation is undeniable. Money works the same way. Each small habit, each act of discipline is a brick that builds your foundation. So ask yourself, are you chasing shortcuts? Or are you ready to take the long road? The one without flashy lights, but with the solid ground that leads to true freedom? Wealth doesn't come from rushing. It comes from habits, discipline, and faith in the power of small steps. And if you start today, your future self will thank you for choosing the sustainable path. This is not the finish line. This is the beginning. You've been equipped with the most powerful principles to create an extraordinary life. Now it's time for you to step out and live it. Believe in yourself. Believe in the process. And believe that the person you are becoming will never give up. With the knowledge that has been shared over the past few days, I hope you will make an effort to practice every day to improve yourself. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss anything. I'll see you in the next video.